In the northern hemisphere, the winter solstice is the precise yearly turning point between the darkness and the return to the light. It is the natural, celestial, organic, holy day, holiday that can be celebrated by everyone. There are many ways to celebrate the winter solstice. There's no one way or right way. Remember the past year by lighting a different colored candle for each of the 12 months on the 12 days before the solstice, and then light the center candle on the winter solstice day, New Year's Day, the rebirth and the return to the light. This tradition relates all the way back to the ancient Babylonian sun god Shamash, in that the center candle on the menorah was also named Shamash. A symbolic ornament can be placed on the tree for each of the 12 days prior to the solstice. Ideally, they would come out of an Advent-type box. And you can also go to theaquariancalendar.com and review the information on the past 12 months to help you remember the past year so that you will be inspired for a new vision for the new year. In the northern hemisphere, the evergreen tree is a symbol of the north and the earth's pole because it is in the direction of the cold. A fake tree can be used repeatedly and is a good way to recycle, but buying a small live potted tree that can be planted is preferred because planting new trees will sequester carbon in the future and make oxygen and produce habitats for animals. Planting a live tree from the solstice can be a lasting memory, and it can be a living symbol of solstices past. For a passive solar energy design relationship, evergreen trees should then be planted in rows on the northern side of the house, or if you're in the southern hemisphere, the southern side of the house, because that is the direction that the winter winds come from. Do not plant evergreen trees on the equator side of your house because it will eventually block the passive solar energy gain into the structure. On the solstice, you can watch the sunrise or sunset and then mark the spot on the picture of the east or west horizon. Or you could build a cairn of stones in the yard to mark that location. You could also mark the light rays on the floors or walls of your home at the sunrise, noon, or sunset on the days of the solstice. To get extra creative, you can place mirrors in these spots and have them reflect onto special objects. These marks will then be the same every year on the winter solstice, and it will mark the lowest path of the sun on the Tropic of Capricorn. For a Christian relationship, use the imagery of the sun dying on the cross of the four directions between the solstices and equinoxes, and sinking low into the sky, and then rising up on the third day, like the imagery of Christ. See the sun as the light and the goodness in the center, just like your heart, just like the light of a crystal that is in your center in your heart. Top the tree with a cross or an angel as a light being. For a Wiccan relationship, top the tree with a 5-sided star representing the 4 elements in the 4 directions and the 5th element of the spirit in the center. For a Jewish-oriented relationship, use the relationship of the word Christ through the Old English word Christ, which meant frost, like a snowflake, because all snowflakes are 6-sided, and the white light breaks into the 6 sides like a hexagon crystal. And this also relates to the 6-sided primary secondary colors of the rainbow, forming the Star of David like a color wheel. And the tree could then be topped on the actual solstice with either the 6-sided snowflake or the 6-sided star representing the light of the sun. And it is also symbolic of the celebration of the light. Go into the woods and find a small man-shaped branch. Write what your intentions are for the next year on a piece of paper and tape it around the waist of the man, representing yourself. And then open it up next year on the solstice and see if you fulfilled your goals and dreams. You can also cut out symbolic crystal six-sided snowflakes out of paper. Have a bonfire and go around the circle stating what you want to give up about the past and what your new vision is for the future. Have a group gift exchange called a spin, where the gifts are either recycled or unwanted items or handmade items, food, or gifts of service. This saves money and is also good for the planet. The gifts are wrapped in reusable cloth bags and they're numbered and placed in the center of the circle. The guests then draw numbers to pick the gifts. After all the gifts are picked, you go around the circle and reveal the gifts. The guests can either then choose to keep the gift or put it back into the spin, and the remaining people repeat the process. The exchange is over when there's no more gifts to put back in the spin or after a predetermined amount of spins. You can also have a solstice cookie spin where 12 people bring 12 cookies each, and they sit in a circle and take a cookie and then pass the plate to the left or right. Then you end up with 12 different kinds of cookies for the 12 days of the solstice. The solstice can be equated to due north, and on a compass that would be between 360 and 0 degrees on the circle. This is also the equivalent to the place of midnight on a clock. The clock face, like the wheel of time, was represented in Yule celebrations. The word Yule translates as wheel, and the wheel of time was represented by a slice of the tree trunk, and at the end of the yearly cycle it was burned on the solstice. This burning by fire represented the releasing of the past and the transformation and new beginning. And this tradition relates way back to the word chronology, which came from the Greek word for the god Kronos. And ironically, Kronos also sounds like the god of sowing and harvesting, which is represented by the seed and the new beginning. And this was celebrated during the festival of Saturnalia, which was named after the last known planet of the time, Saturn. And this is also why the last day of the week we call Saturday. The winter solstice is the time of the negative, the cold. It is the time when the sun appears to die low on the horizon, but is transformed and reborn, and the light rises again. The forces of darkness and death have been symbolically personified throughout time into the Grim Reaper, who evolved from the Kronos, who holds the hourglass, showing us the time is up. In the North American Native tradition, the North is the place of the ancestors. The North is also the place of cremation and transformation of the fire. Then the unseen spirit is resurrected, like the symbol of the dragon. The dragon connects with the earth, but it also has wings and can fly, so it connects the earth and the sky. Just like the phoenix dragon, it rises up again out of the ashes into rebirth. Just like the sun, the return to the light, the crystal clear light, the Christos, the hexagon crystal diamond suit of cards, the valuable diamond like pentacles representing the coins in the tarot suit of cards. Whatever your background, you can come up with a new solstice tradition. There's not just one right way to celebrate the winter solstice, because it is a natural, organic celestial holiday that happens for everyone on the earth, regardless of where you live or what your religion.